You have been talking to yourself in ways that diminish your power, and this must stop immediately if you wish to transform your life in the next 3 days. The voice that speaks within your mind is the most influential force in your existence, yet most people allow it to run wild with criticism, doubt, and limitation. When you wake tomorrow morning, you will begin a new conversation with yourself, one that acknowledges the tremendous creative power that lies dormant within your subconscious mind, waiting to be directed by your conscious thoughts and words. Consider this truth that few understand. Your subconscious mind cannot distinguish between what is real and what is vividly imagined, between what has happened and what you consistently tell yourself will happen. Every thought you think, every word you speak to yourself is accepted by this deeper mind as instruction, as command, as the blueprint for your reality. When you say to yourself, "I never have enough money," your subconscious mind works tirelessly to make this statement true. When you declare, "I am always tired," this deeper intelligence mobilizes every cell in your body to create the experience of fatigue. This is not mysticism. This is the fundamental operating principle of human consciousness. The woman who came to see Dr. Joseph Murphy had been telling herself for years that she was unlucky in love, that good men were not interested in her, that she was destined to be alone. Her subconscious mind, acting on these repeated instructions, caused her to unconsciously sabotage every promising relationship that came her way. She would find fault with kind men, feel unworthy of genuine affection, and create circumstances that drove love away from her life. But when she learned to speak to herself differently, when she began affirming, "I am worthy of deep, lasting love, and it comes to me naturally and easily," her entire experience shifted within days. She started noticing the warmth in people's eyes, feeling confident in social situations, and attracting the very love she had always desired but had been unconsciously rejecting through her internal dialogue. Your subconscious mind is like fertile soil that accepts whatever seeds you plant within it. Plant seeds of lack, and you will harvest scarcity. Plant seeds of sickness, and you will reap illness. Plant seeds of failure, and you will gather disappointment. But plant seeds of abundance, health, success, and joy, and these too will grow and multiply in your experience. The choice of what to plant is yours, and it begins with how you speak to yourself in the quiet moments when no one else can hear. Most people are like passengers in a taxi who give the driver confusing, contradictory directions, then wonder why they never arrive at their desired destination. They say, "I want to be wealthy," while simultaneously telling themselves, "Money doesn't grow on trees," and "rich people are greedy." They declare, "I want to be healthy," while constantly affirming, "I'm getting old," and "my body is falling apart." They claim to desire success while repeatedly saying, "I'm not smart enough," and "good things never happen to me." The subconscious mind, like that patient taxi driver, follows the directions it hears most frequently and with the greatest emotional intensity. For the next 3 days, you will become conscious of every word you speak to yourself. You will catch yourself when you begin to speak limitation, criticism, or doubt, and you will immediately replace these words with statements of truth, power, and possibility. When you hear yourself saying, "I can't afford this," you will stop and say instead, "Money flows to me easily and abundantly." When you catch yourself thinking, "I'm not good enough," you will immediately affirm, "I am perfectly equipped for everything that comes to me." This is not mere positive thinking. This is the deliberate reprogramming of your subconscious mind through conscious, intentional self-dialogue. The man who transformed his failing business understood this principle completely. He had been telling himself for months that customers were hard to find, that competition was too fierce, that the economy was working against him. His business reflected these beliefs perfectly, with declining sales and mounting difficulties. But when he began speaking to himself as a successful businessman would speak, affirming, "My business serves people beautifully and they seek out my services eagerly," everything changed. He started noticing opportunities he had overlooked, feeling confident in client meetings and attracting the very customers he needed. His external world shifted to match his internal dialogue. Remember that your subconscious mind is always listening, always accepting, always working to make your dominant thoughts and words manifest in your experience. It does not judge whether your statements are helpful or harmful. It simply accepts them as instructions for your life. This is why you must become the conscious director of your inner conversation, choosing words that align with your highest good and deepest desires rather than allowing random, destructive thoughts to program your future. When you awaken each morning, before your feet touch the floor, before you check your phone, before you allow the external world to flood your consciousness with its demands and distractions, you must establish the tone of your internal dialogue for the entire day by speaking to yourself with the same reverence, the same kindness, the same unwavering faith that you would offer to a beloved child who has unlimited potential waiting to unfold. Instead of allowing your mind to immediately begin its habitual recitation of problems, worries, complaints, and limitations, you must consciously direct your first thoughts toward statements of power, declarations of possibility, affirmations of your divine nature, and unlimited capacity to create positive change in your life and in the world around you. Say to yourself with conviction and feeling, "I am divinely guided in all my ways. I am filled with infinite intelligence. I am surrounded by love and abundance. I am a perfect expression of God's infinite goodness manifesting in physical form." And as these words resonate through your consciousness, your subconscious mind receives them as instructions for creating your daily experience. The man who came to Dr. Joseph Murphy complaining of constant failure discovered that he began every day by saying to himself, "Here we go again, another day of struggle and disappointment." And Dr. Murphy explained to him that these words were not harmless expressions of frustration, but powerful creative statements that his subconscious mind was using as a blueprint for orchestrating the very struggles and disappointments he feared. Your subconscious mind is like a faithful servant who listens to every word you speak internally and works tirelessly to make those words manifest in your external circumstances. And it cannot distinguish between what you want and what you fear, between what you desire and what you dread. It simply accepts whatever you consistently impress upon it through your internal dialogue and begins immediately to create matching conditions in your physical world. When you speak to yourself with harsh criticism, when you engage in internal conversations filled with self-doubt, when you rehearse scenarios of failure and disappointment in your mind, you are not merely thinking negative thoughts, but actively programming your subconscious to create the very experiences you consciously want to avoid. But when you deliberately choose to speak to yourself with words of encouragement, when you consciously direct your internal dialogue toward statements of faith and expectation of good, when you consistently affirm your ability to overcome challenges and achieve your goals, you are impressing upon your subconscious mind the patterns and possibilities that it will work to manifest in your daily life. The transformation begins the moment you realize that you have complete control over the conversation you have with yourself, that no external force can compel you to speak internally in ways that diminish your power or limit your possibilities, that you are the author of your internal narrative and therefore the creator of your external experience. The quality of your internal dialogue determines the quality of your emotional state, and your emotional state is the creative medium through which all your desires must pass before they can manifest in physical reality, which means that every word you speak to yourself either elevates your consciousness toward faith, love, and expectation of good, or depresses your consciousness toward fear, doubt, and anticipation of limitation. When you catch yourself engaging in internal conversations that produce anxiety, when you notice that your self-talk is creating feelings of inadequacy or hopelessness, when you observe that the words you use internally are generating emotions of anger or resentment, You must immediately and consciously redirect your internal dialogue toward language that produces the emotional states that are conducive to health, happiness, and success. A businessman told Dr. Joseph Murphy that I spend my entire day arguing with people in my mind, having conversations with my boss where I tell him exactly what I think of him, rehearsing confrontations with my competitors, and by evening I am exhausted and filled with rage. And Dr. Murphy explained that these internal arguments were not releasing frustration but creating it, not solving problems but magnifying them, not preparing him for success but programming him for conflict and stress. Your emotions are not random reactions to external circumstances but direct results of the internal conversations you choose to engage in. And when you speak to yourself with words of peace, when you direct your internal dialogue toward thoughts of harmony and goodwill toward others, when you consistently affirm your ability to handle any situation with wisdom and grace, you create emotional states that attract cooperative relationships, creative solutions, and favorable circumstances into your experience. The ancient wisdom teaches us that as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. But it is more precise to say that as a man speaketh to himself consistently and with feeling, so does he become. Because it is not merely the content of your thoughts, but the actual words you use internally, the specific language patterns you employ when speaking to your own soul, that determines the vibrations you emit, and therefore the experiences you attract. When you speak to yourself saying, "I am calm and centered, I handle every situation with perfect poise, I am surrounded by people who appreciate and support me, I find creative solutions to every challenge," you are not engaging in empty self-deception, but consciously creating the emotional frequency that draws corresponding experiences into your life. Your subconscious mind responds to the emotional tone of your internal words, and when your self-talk is infused with feelings of confidence, gratitude, love, and expectation of good, your subconscious begins to rearrange your perceptions, your actions, your responses to circumstances, and even the circumstances themselves to match the emotional blueprint you have created through your internal dialogue. The miraculous truth is that you can transform any emotional state, regardless of external conditions, simply by changing the words you speak to yourself and speaking those new words with genuine feeling and unwavering faith in their power to create positive change in your inner world and therefore in your outer world as well. Your internal dialogue is the bridge between the invisible realm of infinite possibilities that exists within your subconscious mind and the visible world of manifested experience that surrounds you in physical reality, and every word you speak to yourself either opens that bridge wider to allow greater good to flow into your life or constricts that bridge to limit the blessings that can reach you through the natural operation of spiritual law. The woman who consistently spoke to herself saying, "Nothing ever works out for me, I'm always unlucky, good things happen to other people but never to me," was not merely expressing disappointment about past experiences, but actively closing the channels through which prosperity, opportunities, and positive relationships could flow into her present and future experience. When Dr. Joseph Murphy explained to her that her internal words were creating a mental atmosphere of lack and limitation that repelled the very good she desired, she began to consciously speak to herself with different language, saying instead, "Everything is working out perfectly for my highest good. I am blessed and highly favored. Wonderful opportunities are constantly flowing into my life. I attract positive experiences and loving relationships wherever I go." Within 90 days, her external circumstances began to mirror her new internal dialogue as opportunities appeared that had been invisible to her before, as people responded to her with greater warmth and cooperation, as solutions to long-standing problems presented themselves with surprising ease and grace. Your subconscious mind is continuously listening to the conversation you have with yourself and using that conversation as instructions for what to create, what to attract, what to make manifest in your physical experience. and it works with the same precision, whether you are speaking words of limitation or words of liberation. Whether you are programming yourself for struggle or for success, whether you are creating mental conditions that block your good or mental conditions that draw your good to you with magnetic power. The practice of conscious internal dialogue requires you to become aware of the automatic words you speak to yourself throughout the day, to notice the patterns of self-talk that have been running like background music in your consciousness, to observe without judgment the ways you have been unconsciously programming your subconscious mind through habitual internal conversations that may not serve your highest interest or support your deepest desires. When you catch yourself saying internally, "I can't afford that," immediately redirect your self-talk to, "I am open to receiving abundance in expected and unexpected ways. Money flows to me easily and frequently. I have access to all the resources I need to live abundantly and generously." When you notice yourself thinking, "Oh, I'm too old, I'm too young, I don't have enough experience, I don't have the right connections," consciously choose to speak to yourself saying, "I am perfectly positioned for success. I have unique gifts and talents that the world needs. I am divinely connected to the right people and opportunities at the perfect time." This is not denial of current conditions, but conscious creation of new conditions through the deliberate use of internal language that aligns your consciousness with the infinite intelligence and unlimited abundance that is your spiritual birthright and natural inheritance as a beloved child of the infinite creative power that governs the universe. Your internal dialogue is the bridge between the invisible realm of infinite possibilities that exists within your subconscious mind and the visible world of manifested experience that surrounds you in physical reality, and every word you speak to yourself either opens that bridge wider to allow greater good to flow into your life or constricts that bridge to limit the blessings that can reach you through the natural operation of spiritual law. The woman who consistently spoke to herself saying, "Nothing ever works out for me, I'm always unlucky, good things happen to other people but never to me," was not merely expressing disappointment about past experiences, but actively closing the channels through which prosperity, opportunities, and positive relationships could flow into her present and future experience. When Dr. Joseph Murphy explained to her that her internal words were creating a mental atmosphere of lack and limitation that repelled the very good she desired, she began to consciously speak to herself with different language, saying instead, "Everything is working out perfectly for my highest good. I am blessed and highly favored. Wonderful opportunities are constantly flowing into my life. I attract positive experiences and loving relationships wherever I go." Within 90 days, her external circumstances began to mirror her new internal dialogue as opportunities appeared that had been invisible to her before, as people responded to her with greater warmth and cooperation, as solutions to long-standing problems presented themselves with surprising ease and grace. Your subconscious mind is continuously listening to the conversation you have with yourself and using that conversation as instructions for what to create, what to attract, what to make manifest in your physical experience. And it works with the same precision, whether you are speaking words of limitation or words of liberation. Whether you are programming yourself for struggle or for success, whether you are creating mental conditions that block your good or mental conditions that draw your good to you with magnetic power. The practice of conscious internal dialogue requires you to become aware of the automatic words you speak to yourself throughout the day, to notice the patterns of self-talk that have been running like background music in your consciousness, to observe without judgment the ways you have been unconsciously programming your subconscious mind through habitual internal conversations that may not serve your highest interest or support your deepest desires. When you catch yourself saying internally, "I can't afford that," immediately redirect your self-talk to, "I am open to receiving abundance in expected and unexpected ways. Money flows to me easily and frequently. I have access to all the resources I need to live abundantly and generously. When you notice yourself thinking, oh, I'm too old, I'm too young, I don't have enough experience, I don't have the right connections, consciously choose to speak to yourself saying, I am perfectly positioned for success. I have unique gifts and talents that the world needs. I am divinely connected to the right people and opportunities at the perfect time. This is not denial of current conditions, but conscious creation of new conditions through the deliberate use of internal language that aligns your consciousness with the infinite intelligence and unlimited abundance that is your spiritual birthright and natural inheritance as a beloved child of the infinite creative power that governs the universe. The most powerful time to transform your internal dialogue is during those transitional moments when your conscious mind is relaxed and your subconscious mind is most receptive to new impressions, those sacred intervals just before sleep when the barriers between your conscious and subconscious minds become thin and permeable, allowing your deliberately chosen words to penetrate deeply into the creative levels of your consciousness where they can work throughout the night to reorganize your mental patterns and prepare favorable conditions for the coming day. As you lie in bed, before sleep takes you into its restorative embrace, instead of reviewing the problems and disappointments of the day, instead of rehearsing tomorrow's challenges and potential difficulties, instead of engaging in the mental conversations that replay conflicts and reinforce limitations, you must consciously choose to speak to yourself with words that program your subconscious mind for healing, prosperity, harmonious relationships, and creative solutions to any challenges you may face. Say to yourself with deep feeling and complete conviction, I am at peace with everyone and everything in my world. My body is perfectly healthy and filled with divine energy. I'm attracting wonderful opportunities for success and fulfillment. I'm surrounded by love and guided by infinite wisdom in all my decisions and actions. And as these words sink into your relaxed consciousness, your subconscious mind receives them as instructions for creating corresponding experiences in your physical world. A woman told Dr. Josephy, I used to fall asleep every night worrying about money, thinking about all the bills I couldn't pay, imagining losing my house, and I would wake up exhausted and filled with anxiety. But when she learned to consciously direct her pre-sleep internal dialogue towards statements of abundance and security, saying to herself, I am prospered in all my ways, money comes to me from expected and unexpected sources, I always have more than enough to meet every need and desire, I am financially free and secure. Her financial situation began to improve in ways that seemed almost miraculous, but were simply the natural result of impressing her subconscious mind with images and expectations of prosperity rather than lack. Your subconscious mind continues to work while your conscious mind sleeps, and the last thoughts and words you impress upon it before losing conscious awareness become the blueprint it follows throughout the night as it influences your dreams, regulates your bodily functions, and prepares the mental and emotional conditions that will determine your experiences when you awaken to a new day. The practice of conscious pre-sleep internal dialogue is perhaps the most efficient way to accelerate the transformation of your life because you are working with natural rhythms of consciousness, utilizing the relaxed receptivity of the drowsy state to plant seeds of positive change that will germinate and grow while you sleep, producing fruit that you will discover when you return to waking consciousness, refreshed, renewed, and aligned with higher possibilities that seemed impossible when you approached them with the old patterns of fearful, limiting self-talk that kept you trapped in cycles of struggle and dissatisfaction. The words you speak to yourself about other people create invisible bridges or barriers that determine the quality of every relationship in your life. For your subconscious mind cannot distinguish between the internal conversations you have about others and the internal conversations you have about yourself. And when you consistently speak internally about others with criticism, judgment, resentment, or malice, you are programming your subconscious to create experiences of conflict, rejection, and isolation in your personal and professional relationships. When you catch yourself engaging in internal dialogue that judges, condemns, or finds fault with family members, friends, colleagues, neighbors, public figures, or strangers you encounter in daily life, you must recognize that these internal words are not harmless expressions of opinion, but creative forces that shape your interactions with all people and determine whether you attract loving, supportive, cooperative relationships or difficult, antagonistic, unpleasant encounters with others. A woman complained to Dr. Joseph Murphy, "Everywhere I go, people are rude to me. They don't listen to what I have to say. They treat me with disrespect, and I can't understand why this keeps happening." And through careful questioning, Dr. Murphy discovered that she spent most of her mental energy engaging in internal conversations that criticized her husband, condemned her neighbors, found fault with store clerks, and judged the appearance and behavior of everyone she encountered throughout her day. You are broadcasting criticism and judgment through your internal words, Dr. Murphy explained, and people are responding to the mental atmosphere you create through your self-talk about others, reflecting back to you the same energy of criticism and judgment that you are projecting through your thoughts and words. The transformation of your relationships begins the moment you consciously choose to speak internally about others with the same kindness, understanding, and goodwill that you wish to receive from them, saying to yourself about difficult people, "I see the divine light in this person. I bless this person and wish them well. This person is doing their best with their current level of understanding. I am surrounded by people who treat me with respect and kindness." When you consistently speak to yourself about others using words of blessing, appreciation, and loving kindness, you create a mental atmosphere that draws out the best in people, that attracts individuals who are helpful and cooperative, that transforms even difficult relationships into harmonious connections built on mutual respect and understanding. Your internal dialogue about others is like a radio broadcast that transmits your mental and emotional state to everyone you encounter, and people respond not so much to your external words and actions, but to the invisible vibrations you emit through your consistent internal conversations, which means that every person in your life is essentially a mirror reflecting back to you the quality of your own internal dialogue about them and about humanity in general. The ultimate mastery of internal dialogue comes when you understand that the voice speaking within your mind is not your enemy to be silenced or your master to be obeyed, but your creative partner to be consciously directed toward the highest expression of your divine nature and unlimited potential. And this partnership between your conscious will and your internal voice becomes the foundation for creating a life of extraordinary fulfillment, abundant prosperity, radiant health, loving relationships, and meaningful contribution to the world around you. After practicing conscious internal dialogue for just 3 days with genuine commitment and unwavering faith in its power to transform your experience, you will begin to notice subtle but unmistakable changes in your energy levels, your emotional states, your interactions with others, your ability to find solutions to problems, and your overall sense of optimism and possibility about your future. The man who had suffered from chronic fatigue for years discovered that his internal dialogue consistently included statements like, "I'm so tired, I have no energy, I can barely get through the day, I'm exhausted all the time." And when he began consciously speaking to himself saying, "I am filled with vibrant energy, my body is strong and healthy, I have unlimited vitality to accomplish everything I desire, I feel wonderful and alive," his physical energy increased dramatically within 72 hours, not through any external remedy, but through the power of his transformed self-talk to influence his subconscious mind's control over his bodily functions and energy production. Your commitment to speaking to yourself with consciousness And intention for these 3 days is not merely an experiment in positive thinking, but a sacred initiation into the conscious use of your creative power, a deliberate alignment with the spiritual laws that govern manifestation, a purposeful partnership with the infinite intelligence that responds to your every word and thought with mathematical precision and unwavering loyalty to your consistently held internal conversations. As you continue this practice beyond the initial 3 days, as conscious internal dialogue becomes your natural way of communicating with yourself, as you develop the habit of speaking to yourself with the same love, respect, and unlimited faith that you would offer to the most beloved person in your life, you will discover that you possess the power to create any experience you desire, to manifest any condition you consistently affirm, to become the person you have always known yourself to be in the deepest chambers of your heart, where truth lives eternal and unchanging. The voice within your mind becomes your greatest ally when you learn to direct it consciously, your most powerful tool when you understand its creative function, your closest friend when you speak to yourself with infinite kindness and unwavering faith in your ability to create positive change in your life and in the lives of all those whose existence you touch through your transformed presence in the world. The sacred work of transforming your internal dialogue is not a temporary practice to be abandoned once your immediate desires are fulfilled, but a lifelong commitment to conscious living, a daily devotion to maintaining the mental and spiritual conditions that allow infinite intelligence to express itself through your thoughts, words, actions, and very presence in the world. When you speak to yourself consciously and deliberately each day, when you choose words that align your consciousness with divine love, perfect health, abundant prosperity, harmonious relationships, and meaningful purpose, you become a channel through which the highest possibilities can manifest not only in your personal experience, but in the collective experience of humanity itself. The woman who dedicated herself to speaking internally with words of peace, forgiveness, and loving kindness discovered